Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the London Property Podcast. We are on vlog number 10, episode number 10, which is, we're getting to double digits now, which is awesome. We are going to start as usual with news of the week. This week in the news, we've seen a lot of articles about the Boris bounce and prices in the housing market and all sorts of things. The one we're going to really talk about is Rightmove's latest housing index, which covers the UK as a whole, and there's also a section for the London one. Obviously, we only looked at the London one. Very interesting. The headline was London recovery continues, boosted by post-election bounce. So again, the Boris bounce, as they call it, and it's interesting because it shows positivity, and we haven't seen positive news in the market for quite a while, so it's nice to see some positive news, but you have to take it with a pinch of salt and a pinch of reality of what's actually going on. So the index, I'll go over the key points and then we will discuss what they actually mean and what our opinion from the ground, what it actually, what the reality is. Obviously we've had an increase of optimism since the election result, and there's been a lot of pent up demand in the market. A lot of buyers waiting to see what happens with the general election. Now you've got a lot of activity, and yes, we've seen that. We've seen an increase of buyers being more active and also sellers looking to get their property valued, etc. Interesting enough, 19% increase in the number of sales agreed, right, compared to the same period a year ago. So again, that's an interesting stat, which is more well, it's a more solid stat than just saying prices have increased, because bear in mind the numbers are from Rightmove and the numbers are based on asking prices, so that it doesn't necessarily reflect the actual value or the actual situation of the UK property market or the London property market. But the fact that 19% of more sales have been agreed than this time last year is a very interesting metric to look at, and again, it shows the confidence that people have and they've got from the election. The index talks about more property coming onto the market throughout the year. We certainly touched on this last week, and we definitely think it will be the case, but it will take some time for this to actually manifest in the number of listings agencies put online. So yeah, very, very interesting stats. It has been positive in the news. Rightmove housing index is very interesting. But yeah, Chris, what do you think of all this positivity? It's great.
It's brilliant news, and we mentioned last week that the news is either normally agents spin it, or the news is either all or nothing. It's either super positive or super negative. And actually, I was looking at what news article to bring to you this week, and pretty much most of it on there about the property market is something to do with the market bouncing back and kicking off, and agents being super busy and everything like that. I mean, on the Evening Standard yesterday, I had one of my clients coming home from work, and he sent me a photo of the Evening Standard, and it said, "Housing market is back with a bang," just for headlines.
Definitely and then, headline grabber.
Yeah, then a photo of Prince Harry just on the side with what was going on. He's getting pushed to one
not
side.
Important
now it's not important anymore. This is what's going on. So that is good to hear, and it is busy, a lot busier than what it was. But it's really important to note, like what you just said, the Rightmove stats, they're asking prices. So what we were saying to a lot of buyers pre-Brexit, pre the election, is there's a great time to kind of get a good deal, and what's going to happen once kind of Brexit gets resolved and the election is over and done with, certainty back in the market, it's going to be more difficult in order to negotiate a good sale. And I'll give you an example. We've just we had a client yesterday. We've been under offer on the property for 3 months now. Getting into the point of exchange of contracts, lawyers had everything written down with regards to the exchange date, completion dates. All of a sudden the client turns around to me on the weekend and says they want another £750,000 for the for the property, which is over and above the asking price. So you know, the comparables don't even stack up to this. So I think some people are getting carried away that this is going to be, you know, the research that we looked into last week, I think the market in general this year is coming down 1.5%. So yeah, it's great that there's lots of positive in the market. It's going to help us a lot with transactional business.
Yeah.
But we need to bring it back down to the reality of what's going on, I think.
Absolutely. Very important to be realistic, and we urge everyone who does read the news to take everything, not just this news, but any news, with a pinch of salt, because the reality is, yeah, it can be on the extreme. It's positive, it's great, but it's not like wow, as they make it out to be. It's not going to be a bang.
No.
So, you know, you keep your heads on, I guess.
Yeah, no, exactly. Okay, next section.
Yes. Sale of the week.
Sale of the
so
week.
Do you want to introduce that one?
Okay, so this is a flat in Park Close in Holland Park, purpose-built flat. We spoke about it actually, new listing of the week.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
The first week since coming back in the new year.
Right.
Because that's when we took it on.
Yeah, that's when we took it. And anyway, we've agreed it at the full asking price after a bit of negotiation, and it's all done. Go and have a look back a couple of episodes, and I think we'll we talk about what the flat is. But it's a 3-bedroom in Holland Park. It's beautiful. The people who are buying it are an elderly couple. They're downsizing from a much larger flat. It's a ground floor with green views. It's a lovely flat, and that just goes to show that's a sale that we've just picked up. Brand new listing, first listing actually of the year back in Jan, and within a couple of weeks, bang, asking price immediately. And it's not like it was cheap. I mean, this is a very, very good comparable for the block. One of the best prices ever achieved in the block. So
definitely
good start to the year with that one.
Which is good, because we had a bit of pressure on us, because we've sold every listing of the week that we've put on the vlog. We usually sold it within a week, sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, or we got it agreed.
I thought you were going to be talking about the other agents that were on board, because it's a multiple instruction with several agents.
So it was multi-agency. It was ourselves and two other agents on board. So it's quite competitive, but you know,
two of the best agents in the area, business,
and in the business,
come to the table with
us.
with nothing, I was going to say.
You mean,
But because the market's off to a bang, we might get gazumped. Who knows?
Let's see. But yeah, that's good. So that was sale of the week. Now going on to listing of the week, it's something that we haven't officially launched on the market, so it's still off market. We're probably going to have it live in 2 weeks' time, but we're going to put it on here because it's a great opportunity to buy. We've got 4 flats coming onto the market.
Something
the same
for
building.
Everyone.
Yeah, something for everyone, because you've got 1-bed flats starting from around £550,000, and we've got the bigger 3-bed flat around 1.7. So 4 blocks in the same block, four flats. Sorry, that's going to go into the end scenes. So 4 flats in the same block. Great W2 location. We can't really give you too much information because it is off market. If somebody does want something like that, then please message us directly. We might be able to share a little bit of information. But yeah, the client basically wants to. We've sold for this client. He had 5 flats in the same building. We sold one for him previously, and now he's looking to take the capital out of this block and deploy it somewhere else. So we've got 4, like Chris said, 4 flats for all types of buyers, whether you're looking for a small 1-bedroom in central London or something more substantial. We've got that covered. So that's going to be coming onto the market in about 2 weeks' time, but we can give you a sneak peek, and I think those will fly. because they're good opportunities, good opportunities to hold, or to refurb a little bit and flip. So
capital values on we talk about quite a lot of expensive listings on here a lot of the time, but these capital values on the 2-beds are relatively quite low. You're not going to see many other 2-beds on the market at those kind of prices, because they're very compact 2-beds, but double beds and right next to Hyde Park. So it's a good one. So all right, that's that.
That's listings of the week, which we're very excited to have on board. Now, Chris, you're going to mention, you've got a question of the week. Let's get it on. The question is from Gary. I am looking at purchasing a leasehold house with a long lease and no service charge. The agent told me it is a virtual freehold. Are there any differences between a freehold house and, quote, a virtual freehold house, from an agent's perspective, if there is anything?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of people, this term virtual freehold, I've only really heard it in the past year, 2 years. Never really used to exist, and somebody's dubbed virtual freehold. So what they mean is, they even use it with respect to flats sometimes, but more with houses. So as you know, you can have a freehold house which you own the land to, or you can have a leasehold house. And a lot of the time the developers sell the houses off these days. Brand new build developers sell the houses with a long lease, and I think the government are actually looking into the practice of that and clamp down, but they, as far as I understand, they haven't as of yet. Anyway, somebody asked me this question earlier in the week, and they said, but Chris, I've seen this place, it's really good, I don't understand why it's leasehold. Apparently a lot of the houses in this location are leasehold houses, and but it's got a really long lease, and I'm never really going to need to extend it in my lifetime, and there's no service charge. So what's the problem with it, really? Like the agent saying to me, it's pretty much a virtual freehold. But I said to him, well, look, you've got a lease, okay, and the lease, don't think about it as a number of years, think about it in terms of like rules and regulations on what you can and can't do. So again, we're going to have to put a little disclaimer up here, just to say, get your lawyer to read through the lease of this virtual freehold and see what's in there, because most of the time, we mentioned this before, there'll be restrictive covenants in there on what you can and can't do, such as wood flooring, or if you want to open up the layout, or you want to touch anything in the property, you might have to pay for some kind of license for alterations. So you can be kind of restricted in your own home. So I know sometimes some agents will say, oh, it's virtual freehold, but that's a little bit misleading. So look at it with a lawyer, and so I would never sell anything as a virtual freehold.
It's just a sexy term, to be honest.
I don't know who came out with the term.
Well, somebody thought it was a genius way to just say, well, it's a leasehold house, but because of the length of the years on the lease, it's virtually like a freehold house, and I think that's how it might have come about. But the matter of fact is, it's just a sexy term. A lease is a lease. You're going to be restricted, and you have to check with you get professional advice, get legal advice from a solicitor or a conveyancing firm, and they'll be able to actually tell you exactly what you can do or can't do. The matter of fact is, there's a big difference between a freehold house and a leasehold house, and there's a reason why the government has been talking about, they haven't done anything yet, but there's been a lot of talks about clamping down on the sale of leasehold houses from all these developers across the country, because they're making a lot of money from the ground rents, and it's making it very difficult. If you do want to acquire the freehold of the property, the premium that people have had to pay has been crazy. So there's been a lot of bad practices by the freeholders, hence why the government is looking at trying to control it and technically, our advice would be, if you're looking at a house, you should really buy it freehold, because a lease is a lease. You're going to be restricted, and virtual freehold, there is no such thing. It's just a sexy term. It's still a lease.
I think it's also worthwhile looking into why it is a leasehold house. Is there any particular reason for it? Because we actually sold one on St Michael Street in Paddington, and pretty sure that was a leasehold house. And from what I understand, the reasons for it being a leasehold house was there's a huge underground kind of communal car park underneath the house. So if you've got land that's owned by somebody else, like the freehold company or something, but below your house, and you don't own the land which is below the house, then it's technically it has to become
a leasehold.
A leasehold. It normally is, and we've got another one on Norfolk Crescent, which is exactly the same situation. That's a leasehold house. In fact, all of them on Norfolk Crescent are leasehold houses, because the car park underneath. So there might be several different reasons why the house is leasehold, but I think brand new build leasehold houses have got a bad rep and a bad reputation, because the fact that, like you say,
it's a cash cow for developers, simply and
that's what the government are looking into. I think maybe years ago these kind of practices didn't really be as prevalent as they are today.
So I wouldn't buy new build with a lease, or a new build house which had a leasehold, because it's not great. But like I said, historic areas like the Hyde Park estate, where you do have houses, period houses, etc., on a leasehold, then that's just the way it is, because the estate has to be managed. And like Chris said, it could be the fact that there is underground car park which needs to be maintained. So a leasehold house isn't necessarily bad. You just have to really dig into why is it a leasehold house, but definitely stay away from new build leasehold houses, because it should be freehold.
We don't sell any of those anyway.
Yeah,
we don't. There's not many of those in central London. New build apartments, but not new build free houses. So there you go. Definitely check with your solicitor, get professional advice, and look into it. But generally speaking, we do advise that you look at freehold houses. And hopefully Gary's question has been covered. And do you have anything else to add on the virtual freehold? I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, no agent would actually put in their marketing details, this is a virtual freehold property. And certainly a lawyer wouldn't write it up in their letter of advice to you in the contract that you're buying a virtual freehold. So
it is literally just a sexy term to describe a leasehold,
which
a long leasehold
people shouldn't really be using, I don't think.
No, if it's not really, it's not freehold. So there you go. That's the question of the week. That is vlog episode 10, 10 concluded. Thank you so much for paying attention. If you've managed to watch all the way through the end, we hope it's been valuable. You can reach us on social media. We've got all the links to our social profiles in the description below. If you're listening on the podcast as well, you can find us on all your preferred podcast channels, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. We're all over the internet now. And get in touch if you have any questions or any feedback, or you're looking to sell or buy a property in central London, then we'll be happy to help. And I guess I'll see you guys next week with more property news and valuable insights into the world of the London property market. See you guys next week.
Thanks for watching.